just waiting for Molly to join. We've had a couple of technical difficulties, so hopefully we'll be able to go live together this time. Here's Molly. It's lovely to see so many people joining. Ah, there we are. Hi, Molly. Can you hear me all right? I can't hear you. I can just hear crackling. If you guys could let me know in the comments if you could hear Molly, that would be amazing. Yeah. I'm not sure if your phone is by a computer or something, but there might be some feedback noise. Bear with us, everyone. It's going to be a fab workshop that's coming up, and I'm really excited to learn more about Molly's work. So, that sounds clear. Can you hear that any better? Yeah, that's perfect. Yay, there we go. I'm so glad. Sorry about that. I'm really excited that we can properly chat now. It had a couple of technical difficulties, but it'll be worth it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Molly. If you're happy and comfortable, should we just jump into the interview?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I just wanted to welcome everyone who's joining and introduce Molly, who is a multidisciplinary sound artist. She works with lots of different mediums and art. And today she's going to be joining us for an interview over the next 20 minutes. And then we're all going to jump over to Zoom for a workshop where she's going to be discussing some of the practical skills and the practical element of what she does. If you're interested in that, then someone will be dropping the Zoom link in the chat, so you'll be able to join that way. But for the moment, I'm going to enjoy what Molly is going to chat about in the next few minutes. So for people who don't know you, Molly, do you want to just describe your work as an artist and your role in the creative sector?
Yeah, so I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I work within the intersection of art and science. I think for me, being an artist is about being a good communicator, finding ways to communicate new scientific research, ideas, feelings, and raising awareness about things that I'm passionate about. I tend to start with an idea or concept, then work out the medium to communicate that with. I'm particularly drawn to working in a multi-sensory way, so immersing an audience into a world of interactive sound, touch, and visuals. I also like the immediacy and urgency of live performance. I think that's coming from a background of being a musician. Performance and sound come very naturally to me as a way to communicate successfully with an audience.
Thank you for sharing that. And you talk about communication and how that's very important in your artwork. I'm just interested to know, like, what you think the relationship is between art and science and the human body as well, and how you see that in your artwork.
Well, art and creativity has spent many centuries crossing over into science. The lines between these subjects were much more blurred in the past, but more recently, there's been a divergence of these subjects, especially as scientists, their areas of research have become more narrow, more specialised. So for me, working collaboratively with scientists, it's a type of symbiotic relationship. As artists, we can help communicate their research to a wider audience and encourage creative thinking. drawing upon connections that might have gone previously unconsidered. And for us as artists, we gain access to a world of ideas, equipment, aesthetics, and imaging that we might not have had access to otherwise. I think there's a lot of similarities in the way artists and scientists go about their practice too, gathering evidence, experimenting, embracing mistakes that can lead to new discoveries. And as for the connection to the human body, I think linking concepts and ideas to our own physicality it's a powerful way to connect with people. It's something we share and we all have in common, but we all experience differently. So it's a great sort of vehicle for empathy.
Lovely, thank you. And moving on then to your artistic practice, I know that at the moment you're studying at St Martin's University for a master's degree. And I'm wondering, like, over the past few years, how you've noticed how maybe academia has, like, created a shift in your work, and whether you've seen an impact or a change maybe in the past 3 years. So could you just share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's been helping me refine my practice. I find so many things interesting and have so many ideas floating around. Sometimes that can be overwhelming. I think the course has helped me to see my practice with more perspective and think about projects on a longer time scale. It's encouraged me to really refine my research methods. It's also given me a lot more confidence in reaching out to people for collaborations, especially scientists, which can feel quite daunting. I've learned, like, as long as you're curious and open-minded, enthusiastic and respectful, people love sharing their knowledge and expertise with you, and the help is out there. If you ask for it, people love to help. So I think being in academia is it's a great sounding board for realizing how my work is actually received by an audience. I'm much more strict with myself now. If an element is not essential to a piece of work, I will remove it ruthlessly. I think simplicity is the key to successful communication of complex ideas.
That's super interesting about simplicity. I think really interesting to implement on as an artist in any discipline, not necessarily in the work. So thank you for that. And I just want to draw everyone's attention to the Zoom link that Nikki just dropped in the comments. And you can join us for a workshop afterwards with that link. I just wanted to draw your attention to that. But moving on then, let's talk about one of your own projects. Your work, Sonorous. It imitates the way that the ocean shapes the natural world. And I just wondered if you could explain a little bit more about your aim behind this project.
Yeah. So as with most of my work, I was trying to communicate and share a concept and a connection that I found interesting. I wanted to highlight the unseen forces around us that shape our environment. I'm obsessed with the idea of seeing sound. Okay. It's such an ephemeral concept. It's intangible. You can't grab it. You can't touch it. But we can see the effects of its energy around us all the time. And at that time, I was researching Murray Schafer's work, Waves, where he spent years listening intently to waves, timing them in different weather conditions and noting them down as a musical score. He was interested in the pace of waves and why we find slow, lapping waves so soothing and huge crashing waves so exhilarating. And he draws comparisons to the rhythms within our bodies, so breathing, how the timings of these mirror the differing. For example, the rhythm of calm, lapping waves is remarkably similar to the average pace of our breathing during. So it's one of the reasons we find it such a soothing thing to listen to. And this is why I created the soundscape in the room as part of the installation that was layers of breath structured to mimic the pattern and pace of ocean waves, try and immerse people in that feeling.
Wow, I can imagine like being in that room must have been quite a lot of senses to take in. Yeah. And quite atmospheric. And I just wonder, like, I saw the project on your website, but obviously it doesn't pay proper tribute to what it was like as an audience member in that room. So, like, what was the audience's reaction? Was it what you expected, or did people respond in like some kind of different way?
So I wanted to create a very controlled environment where there were lots of different senses being manipulated and influenced. And once you enter the space, the idea was you were enveloped by the work. And I really strongly believe that art should be accessible to everybody. So I always strive to make work that has elements that can appeal to young children or people who've never been to a gallery or an exhibition before and have no experience with that. And for this project, there was an interactive element where the audience was invited to throw a pebble into the pool of water that disturbed the projected image, and it added their own element to the soundscape because the water was amplified. And this was received very well by children and adults alike. This being able to influence and add their own mark onto the work, it seemed to give people a sense of ownership over the work. It kind of personalised it, made it like a more bespoke, unique experience for people. And I think that simple act of throwing a pebble into a pool, it translates across languages and cultures. It's a whimsical act. It kind of conjures up memories of people throwing pennies in fountains and making wishes. And it's something I've noticed people do all over Europe, at least. It seems to happen in a lot of different countries. But I think my favourite response was from a fisherman who'd seen me working in the studio, coming in every day and coming out, dragging weird big objects. And he seemed very curious about what I was up to. So we invited him and some of the other local fishermen to come in and experience the installation. And he was very impressed with the way it sort of captured the effects of the sea and contained it as an experience. And he didn't really speak any English, and my Portuguese is limited. So we had someone translate for us, and he told me how he'd never been in a gallery before, and after this experience he would be visiting many more galleries. And that marked a success for me, the idea that I've inspired somebody who'd never seen that world before to go and enjoy more art and get involved with it.
Yeah, that's really interesting about accessibility, and something that is obviously that all artists should be practicing currently. And I wonder if you have any advice for maybe a person who has only recently discovered, say, art galleries or a musical instrument, or whatever art form it is that they're passionate about, and they want to get into the art industry but they're not sure how. Maybe it's an economic barrier or a location barrier. Do you have any advice for them as a young person who is passionate about their art form?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give is don't get disheartened. You will be rejected. You will fail 1,000 times more than you will succeed. But you have to build up a thick skin and learn to see the rejection as an incentive and make it drive you to try harder and to do more. And also, talk to people, ask for help. If you have an idea, seek out experts who really know that field, talk to them about what you want to do. You never know where anything like that will lead. It's impossible to do everything yourself, and you will need help. So if you're genuine and curious and friendly, don't be afraid to ask. The worst thing that will happen is someone says no. But they'll always be flattered that you asked in the first place. So and be choosy about your opportunities as well. If you want to spend time applying for something, be choosy about what that thing is and put the time and effort into that application. There's a lot of things out there, so you want to find things that are most relevant to your practice and focus in on those things. And listen to other artists about their recommendations, about programs, residencies, funding, venues, exhibitions. It's easy to get swamped by the volume of stuff online, but you have a good resource in people you know who are experienced, so talk to them.
Yeah, very good advice. Make use of the artistic community. And I like what you said about applications, because they can take a long time. I've been there. So moving on to your life as an artist. Obviously, you go about making all this work about science and art and how they combine. But like, what is your experience of being self-funded as an artist? Has it been a struggle? Like, what's it been like? Obviously, it's not the easiest sector to be in right now.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, but it's definitely worth it. I think it was a kind of a snowball effect for me. Once I decided to devote all my time to being an artist, things started happening. And it was very scary at first not to have a solid income I could rely on. But I kept putting myself out there and cheeky questions. And after a while, people I met on residencies started recommending me for freelance work or passing opportunities on to me they might be too busy for. I do still spend a lot of time doing applications for seeking out funding. But I try and tell myself that every application I write is honing my skills and making the next one even better. So they're never a waste of time. Sure.
I think I lost you there, Molly, for just a second.
Oh, sorry.
Was that answer complete? I think I just lost you towards didn't want to cut you off.
Hold on.
No, wonderful. Everyone home heard it, and my Wi-Fi is not amazing. Awesome. So I'd love to talk to you about what the last month has been for you as an artist, and whether you found lockdown motivating, or I'm sure you found it challenging in some aspects. Has this been a time of creativity, and how have you navigated that as an artist?
Yeah, I think it's been difficult. I think it's been a challenging time for everybody. But as artists, I think we need to be adaptable. We need to be open. And for me, creativity is most profound when I'm problem solving. So I like to rise to a challenge, and I like to use that as a motivator. And it's been a struggle because much of my work is interactive and involves touch. So I've really had to rethink that a lot in my practice to sort of adapt to an online setting. It's the same with workshops too that I run. They're usually very hands-on with a lot of physical participation. So it's definitely been a challenge rethinking those elements. I have been creating work though. I found myself in Pembrokeshire by the sea for lockdown, and I used what was around me to create a new installation, which I've only exhibited online so far. I was researching all about salt. I became obsessed with sea salt because I was right by the sea. It's a fascinating subject. We take it so for granted, salt, but and it seems so trivial, but it's been such an important resource throughout human history. It's, for example, people used to get paid in coins made out of salt, and so many phrases and idioms in our language relate to salt. And humans and animals can't survive without it. So I made an installation that was looking at the first ever known methods for extracting salt from seawater. And I came across a place called Yangpu in China, and it's an ancient salt field. And it's basically these huge boulders that have had the basins carved into the top of them. And tide would come in and they would fill up with seawater, and as the tide went out, the sun would evaporate the seawater and leave these beautiful salt formations. And then they were harvested, and then the next day the whole process would start again. I love the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
And temperatures, and I think it's something we should take a lesson from, perhaps. Seeing as we're such a sort of resource thirsty population these days. So I began making sculptures with doing miniature versions of those with pebbles from the beach, and it turned out to be in the hottest month of the year. It turned out to be the hottest May that we've had. Oh, I seem to have frozen. Have I frozen for you?
No, you seem to be all good. Now you have. Oh no, now you're back. Okay. Oh, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if it's the mic. Guys, can you let me know in the comments if you can hear Molly? It might just be my internet. Molly, can you hear me? can you guys hear Molly speaking or me? Or, yeah. I don't think she can see me right now. We can't hear you, Molly. I don't know whether your microphone's muted or been unplugged. Might have to like wiggle the headphone thing around. Might help. Oh no, we still can't hear you, Molly. Molly, do you have to use headphones for the Zoom session, or do you reckon we should just jump over there